Stories of innovation and success from the vibrant communities of rural Nova Scotia. This is Ignited.
Hey there, welcome to Ignited the podcast, where we celebrate innovation and rural success. I'm Wade Cleveland. I work for a rural innovation hub called Ignite, a place that brings startups and industry, youth and community together with the goal of making an impact on rural communities everywhere. Today I'm chatting with Amy Harrison, solopreneur and, as she puts it on her website, the creative spark behind Pixels and Pieces, her marketing/graphic design company based out of Dartmouth. Amy wanted to become a business owner and she had a plan in place and, like many, was forced to pivot when COVID hit. We'll hear that story in a few minutes. Not only does Pixels and Pieces help you develop and execute your branding, but Amy spends a lot of time empowering others to do the same through her speaking and teaching engagements. Amy, first off, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Hi, Wade. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you're a graphic artist and have been for a long time. How did what you did lead you to what you're doing now?
So I've been a graphic and web designer for 20 years now. And honestly, I've never stopped designing. I've done a few different jobs in my career, a lot of communications positions where I would do writing as well as design. I decided just almost 4 years ago now to break out on my own and become a solo entrepreneur. Some of it was due to kind of square peg, round hole corporate environments, which for me has actually been kind of topped off by a late midlife ADHD diagnosis. So I realized I wasn't fitting in, wasn't happy in those environments, and there's a really good reason why. But I've flourished as an entrepreneur, and I'm really happy to be designing for all sorts of clients all across North America.
Was it scary getting started? Becoming a solopreneur, kind of, it leaves you on your own quite literally. What was that like? Tell us a little bit about it.
I'm really lucky in a couple of ways. So the first way that I was lucky was that I do have a great partner at home, my husband, David, who has a kind of fancy government job. And we had a conversation where I said, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about taking this risk. What do you think about that? And we kind of mapped out what it could look like. There might be months where I have a lot of income. There might be months where I don't. And how is that going to work with our family? And the second reason of why I'm really lucky is that I did go through the SEED program. So here in Halifax, the Centre for Entrepreneur Education and Development has a program where if you were like me, and I had gotten laid off because of a bit of restructuring. So I was able to keep my unemployment insurance while I was building my business. And I was really, really lucky to be able to meet on a very regular basis with not only a business advisor, but also with another group of my peers who are entrepreneurs as well. And so, we were all going through all of the same feelings and learnings and everything together.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Seed actually is one of the partners of Ignite, and I know that they do really great work. So tell us a little bit about that, how long that process was. And you talked about the fact that you kind of ended up with a group where, there was some camaraderie and that kind of thing, and you could kind of grow together. What was that like?
Well, I guess I'll count myself 3 times lucky because I completed all of the in-person coursework in March 2020. I got to go in person. So I started in December 2019. We started going to classes, 3 to 4 times a week. And I got to sit with this group of people. We were taught basic entrepreneurial concepts by some really great instructors there. And we were really all focusing in on our own ideas. And the good thing about a program like that is that you can look at your own business, but then have other people look at your business idea and the way you're thinking you're going to run things from a completely different perspective. And so they might come up with an idea or a solution for you that you'd never think of on your own. I was quite conscientious through the course that, I was making comments on other people's ideas, their babies. And, I think all of us really came out the other side with much better business plans and business ideas than we would have had we just been on our own.
It's kind of interesting because in the same way that you count yourself lucky that you were just finishing off everything live just as COVID hit, you're also
Well,
starting up your business just as COVID hit.
yes.
Although a lot of that is based online, of course, but there had to be challenges because of that.
There was actually. So the business idea that I had started off with was to be a promotional product producer. So I bought something called a Glowforge. It's a laser engraving machine. And I thought, hey, you know what? I could design and print and cut these custom promotional products with this Glowforge. And so I bought the machine before Christmas and was starting up things and doing all of that. And I launched my website on April 1st, 2020, and then all of the events went away overnight. So the word pivot, was really pivotal to me. I decided pretty much by May, June, I had to pivot back to doing branding and web design because, there just wasn't anything happening for 2 years. So I still do the laser stuff. I do have a handful of clients. I do some name tags and coasters and things like that. But my bread and butter really come from branding design and web design at this point.
Because your skills actually align with what was going on anyway. And you, as I was saying, you have an absolutely wonderful website there that you developed. How do you grow that from nothing? That's something that I find really fascinating because you've built up a very nice business there.
Oh, thank you.
Where did you go out and kind of promote? How did the building of the business happen?
I wish I had a magic bullet answer. I wish I could say, you just do this one thing. That's really what we're all looking for. I think for me, it was a combination of a few different things. So I did networking, talking to people is one of the things I learned about quite vividly in the SEED program is like how to talk to people. I did online marketing. So, starting up social media presence, that sort of thing. And then I started off an email list as well. It's been a lot of trial and error. But it's also been a lot of slow building, and I'm continuing to do that to this day. And the more networking you do, more referrals come in, you're online and social media, more people get to know you that way. I've done a ton of workshops. So I've diversified my marketing efforts to grow my business. And then I've also diversified my offerings in terms of branding and website design, but I also do a ton of public speaking. Like this summer, I'm actually doing a series with Staples to do Canva training. And I've learned that diversifying all around, like in your offerings and in your marketing, is the wisest choice because if you don't get the results out of any one of those things, then you're not really hurting. If that makes sense.
Going to ask about that actually because everything seems quite organic. I mean, you have some real graphic skills and the ability to design, but you do a lot of other things, and seminars are one of those. Have you always been able to speak with people in that way, or is that a skill you had to kind of learn?
I have always been the person who wants to empower others. Like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Simon Sinek's work, Find Your Why. Yeah, he's nodding yes. My why is to empower others so that we see opportunity. I've always, even in my corporate world, I've always been the person that people used to ask tech questions like, oh, how do we format that? Or what's the formula for this? And instead of just doing it for someone, I will show them, teach a man to fish kind of thing. It's just always been a reflex. And I've always really enjoyed teaching. And when I went through the Find Your Why exercise, like empowerment was really a no-brainer word for me. So I've always really had that skill, and I'm really happy to be able to share all of my knowledge with as many people as I can.
And it's going very well. Not just that part of it, but I have to tell you, in kind of exploring what you do, I kind of got lost in your blogs. Your blogs are fantastic. You're a very good writer, and I really enjoy reading the blogs that you have. I look forward to checking them out all the time on your website. So even that writing part, is that something that you had to develop, or is that something that kind of came naturally as well?
Well, so in my sort of career, I mean, about, 20-ish years ago, after I got my graphic design diploma, I decided to go to Acadia and get an English degree. And, there's a variety of reasons why, but I guess maybe I thought that was the right thing to do at the time. So, I really did develop these writing skills then. So, and like I said, all these communications jobs that I've had have all required writing as well. So it's a skill that I've been able to use all along the way.
Okay, so as you continue to build and build everything up as you've been going, how's progress been? What kind of challenges are you running into?
One of the most interesting challenges that I'm going through right now is tactic fatigue. So there are many, many people out there who all know many, many things. Sometimes I say myself, I know about 12,000 things. And in order to become a thought leader, in order to attract people to buy your course, services, whatever, we're all publishing content. And one of the things that you have to be as an entrepreneur is, you have to be a lifelong learner. And so anytime you see something that you don't know, you're like, oh, I want to go and learn more about that. And so, I'm subscribed to probably more newsletters than I should be right now. So in my inbox, I get all these, emails with all these tactics in it. So sales tactics, marketing tactics, email marketing this, social media that. And sometimes I just get fatigued by all of them coming into my inbox. And so my challenge right now is trying to figure out what I'm doing, I need to do this. And this is my plan for the next 3 months. And then like these shiny tactics come in and I'm like, does this fit into my plan or does it not? So I call it shiny tactic syndrome.
Yeah, I can see that. And there are so many of those because you can literally get lost in them. You're one of those people who are doing that kind of teaching. I don't know if you're doing tactics, but you certainly are doing, well, you're doing branding, that kind of thing. So that's kind of an interesting observation.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what you do and branding generally. We've had marketers on our podcast before, people who have done things like social media and then general branding and that kind of thing, or general marketing. But what you do is much more specific than that because a lot of it involves finding your brand literally in your logo and making your website look fantastic and things like that. What do you look for in branding these days?
Well, I actually am a little bit of a different than a lot of branding experts out there. My approach to branding is very DIY friendly. I know that tons of people do not have agency budgets. They may have a budget to hire someone like me. I sort of position myself between, I'm more than a one and done logo service, like your Fiverr, your Upwork, whatever. I'm more than that. I'm going to deliver a one-on-one quality customer experience, but I'm not an agency. I'm me. And that's a good thing because you get all of me all at once. There's no, I wrote an article, what did I call it? Middle manager meddling. There's none of that happening. But, so I'm very practical and I'm very DIY focused. So a lot of times when I'm approached by a client to say, hey, you know what, I need to rebrand. I want to change my name, or I've niched down a little bit and I want to really go after this other audience. And one of the things I'm doing is like prototyping logos in Canva because I know they're going to be in there doing all the other things, social media posts, presentations, all that they're not going to want to hire me to do. They want to do it themselves, which is fine. So I'm in Canva and I'm really prototyping the logo in terms of what fonts we're going to be using, what colors we're going to be using, like shapes and styles, that kind of thing. So I do a lot of that. I do a lot of forward thinking, and I think that is my ADHD brain speaking as well. So I'm thinking, okay, so we're, here's the color, font, shape, and style of your logo. How is that going to work on a t-shirt, on a banner, on your social, on your website? Like how is that all going to work when you try to apply it to all of these things? So I'm very practical in that way, so I do a lot of chatting with my clients to make a match between the fonts and the feelings and the colors. So fonts and colors, they project certain feelings. Red is like stop, blue can be calming, green can be fresh, like depending on the context of your business. And one of the most common errors that I see people are making is that they just pick colors. They just pick them at random. that I like purple. Purple's great, but you're an accountant and all of your clients are corporations that may not appreciate pink and purple, so there's not a fit there, and that really harms your brand over time. So I really help people make this practical match between the colors and fonts that you're using and the feelings you want people to feel about your business. And a lot of it I'm doing in Canva, and I use some other tools as well. So I think a lot of people start off, and maybe that's a bit of a misstep. They start off, well, this is what I like, right? And I honestly think that what you like should be number 3. So number 1 should be a correct match between how you want people to feel and the things that actually portray those feelings. If you want people to trust you, like let's say you're a financial advisor, a payroll specialist, whatever, you want people to trust you. Well, blue is the color of trust. So it's like, if you're having pink and purple and bright orange in there, you're not taking advantage of colors and fonts and how they communicate. That's number 1, is this match. Number 2 is, again, this practicality. Some people are like, well, I would like these 7 colors in my logo. Well, that's great. But you're going to start to run into problems. How do you start to put that? Okay, you want to put it on a t-shirt? Great. So t-shirt companies, they charge by the color. And if you have 7, that is going to cost you a lot of money in the long run. So, trying to figure out a small 3 to 4 colors that really go together well, that are harmonious and, are communicating well. And then the third is that you like it. So generally, by the time we get to number 3, after going through those other 2 steps, they do like it because they understand. They're like, yeah, you know what? My customers are other corporations or other companies on B2B. So I need some blue. Yes, I'm in the financial sector. Maybe I need some green in there, that kind of thing. And I mean, there might be a small bit of lament about but Barbie pink is my favorite color. Yes, but it's not about you. It's about your clients, and you want to attract them, and you need to be able to communicate. Your logo needs to be able to communicate with you when you're not there, when you can't tell your story.
I want to tell you about our Igniting Women in Business series at Ignite, providing rural women entrepreneurs an opportunity to connect, learn, and build their network through a series of initiatives, including a speaker series, gala, and retreat. We hope to inspire and empower rural women in business across the province. The theme is relearning through a women's lens. The sessions offer a space for women to discuss challenges that are faced by rural women in entrepreneurship, with opportunities to learn, network, and socialize. For more information on Igniting Women in Business and to sign up for our events newsletter, visit igniteatlantic.com.
Starting off, usually with a new client, you'd start with a one-on-one. How is that done? How long does that process usually take?
Usually, we have some people call it a discovery call or a discovery meeting, that kind of thing, where, I uncover all of the bits. So they have a little bit of homework ahead of our first meeting where they talk about what are the feelings you want people to feel about your company. Do you have specific colors that you absolutely will not use or you do absolutely want to use? And they tell me a lot about their business and what their values are as a business. Usually after I get that information, we have a quick meeting to chat about it. And then I kind of go away for a couple of weeks and do my thing. So do my creative thing. I can't rush creativity. Sometimes I get an idea in the shower, right? So it usually takes a couple of weeks for me to really come up with, again, the colors, the fonts, the shapes, the style. I do some competition research in that process. I go and look at who are your main competitors in that space. What do they look like? In some cases, it's really pretty easy to take your company and put it up ahead of a lot of people because some very common mistakes are made in your competitors. So it's a really good opportunity for you to get ahead of them. So after I've had a couple of weeks to go through things, I end up doing a live design session. So that's not something that not every designer will offer that, but I do. Again, it's mainly in Canva where I show you what I've come up with. There's probably a few different options and I go through why I've made the choices that I've made. And we step through color, font, shape, style, and we keep going until you're happy. And sometimes that's a single session. Sometimes that's multiple sessions, depends on the client. I do have a couple of different packages. So some packages offer more of my time than others. Like I have a product called Logo Fix in a Day, where it's literally an afternoon. I spend the morning doing my thing, and then in the afternoon we get together and go through that process in a pretty fast pace. And, by the end of the afternoon, you have a new logo and you're happy.
That's really awesome. How are you picking up clients? Are you getting your clients through word of mouth? Is it the majority of people finding you online? Is it SEO? How does it work
again,
for you?
It's a diversified effort. So last year, over 50% were from referrals. So doing that networking is really important. There's lots of people that I've come to know as colleagues locally. I've joined some other networking groups that are national, and some people have found me that way. Some people have found me through workshops as well. So I've done different workshops like with Staples and Digital Nova Scotia. I've done it with Seed. I've, all NSCC, tons of different organizations. So some people will find me that way. Like CBDC, one of my biggest clients right now, she was going through the CBDC self-employment program and came to one of my workshops and was like, okay, you know what? I know nothing about this. We really have to fix all sorts of things. So I'm doing a big project with her right now. So it's a variety of different ways. Again, like I wish there was like one magic bullet answer to say, yeah, do that. There are things like SEO where, in social media where you just have to keep planting the seeds. Like you just have to keep putting things out there. They take longer. Sometimes I've done some cold outreach, but it hasn't been as successful as the referrals or the workshops.
Are you doing the workshops in person or are they
most
done
of them
virtually?
are virtual.
How does that work?
All of the Staples ones have been virtual. Actually, I think 100% of them have been virtual. Now that I think about it, yeah, I think they're super fun. I try and make them as interactive as possible that you can follow along with me. I usually provide a handout. Sometimes, depending on the size of the group and depending on the time of day, like I've done different kinds where it's like, here, I'll just show you the very basics of Canva and you go fill your boots and let me know if you have questions. And sometimes I've done like click here, like click along with me kind of thing.
This must keep you very busy because, again, you are literally a solopreneur. Everything is you, and that's part of what you advertise, actually, is when you get me, you get all of me.
I'm working with a content specialist right now and I did get a grant with a marketing agency to help me gain some focus on all those marketing efforts that I'm trying to figure out how to do. So, I think, just setting yourself up with expectations and your own boundaries, like I know that because I'm a solopreneur, it's about 50-50. So if it's 50% client work and 50% business development, I use tools like Google Calendar. I have a CRM, Dubsado, that I use to help me track all of my clients. And I'm just constantly keeping track of, okay, here's my goal. What do I need to get there? And really, once I get to my goal, I'm done. I just stop. I don't have anybody else to report to. There's no one reporting to me. So the benefit of a solopreneur is that when I reach my goal, I'm done. And sometimes that means I can take 2 weeks off, or I can take, Friday afternoons off, or sometimes it does mean, like my husband cooks dinner because I'm still in a meeting or things like that. But I think one of the reasons that I became an entrepreneur was to really have autonomy over my own time. So managing it is a high priority for me. And I feel like I've done it well. I've been able to take as much time off as I ever have in any other job, arguably way more time to do whatever I like. But I have a lot of flexibility. And I think that helps too, because, yeah, you know what? If my husband has a hockey game on a Saturday morning, sure, I can check a few emails. No big deal, right? But then, if I need to take the dog to the vet in the middle of the day, like that can happen too. So, I won't lie, it's challenging to manage it, but I'm really happy to do so because it gives me the flexibility that I want.
Do you have any advice for a solopreneur who may be listening right now and thinking of getting started? Is there one thing that comes to mind that you would give them as a piece
that's kind of a
advice?
tough one. I would say find your people. A solo entrepreneur does mean that the responsibility is solely on you, but in terms of what clients you work with, who you get advice from, who you can vent some frustrations to, who you can learn from, all these things, find your people. So find, even if it's locally or if it's on a networking group, if it's part of an organization, find your people, because you may feel the pressure to do so many things on your own, but guaranteed there is other people out there who are having the same problems, the same challenges, who have been there, done that, and can really help you.
That's a great piece of advice. To find out more about Amy and Pixels and Pieces, visit their website, pixelsandpieces.ca. To find out more about rural innovation and what Ignite does, check out igniteatlantic.com. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you subscribed to Ignited, shared us with your friends, and gave us a good review. And remember, you can find past episodes anytime by looking over our archive wherever you download your pods. We'd love to hear from you. Any comments or suggestions about the podcast, or who you'd like to hear on it, maybe that's you, are most welcome. Email me at Wade, W-A-D-E, @igniteatlantic.com. I'm Wade Cleveland. Thanks for listening. Talk soon.